the Woburn School Committee special meeting for May 5th, 2021. Can we please salute the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Woburn School Committee. This meeting shall be live streamed on the Woburn Public Media station. Anybody that chooses to speak to the school committee tonight is consenting to be recorded, both visually and audibly. Could the superintendent please call the roll?
Ms. Chisholm.
Yes.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Mr. Lipset.
Here.
Mr. Kissel.
Here.
Mr. Mulrennan.
Present.
Dr. Wells.
Here.
Ms. Crowley.
Present. So we are all here. I will accept a motion to open the public hearing on the school committee budget for fiscal year 2022, please.
Do they want to do presentation with superintendent first? Like just to introduce
Oh, okay.
the budget?
Yes, thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Wells.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I skipped a
Yeah.
part of the agenda. Reports and presentation of superintendent and staff. Are there any relevant budget updates that the school committee should consider before opening the public hearing?
Other than the budget reductions that you passed at the last school committee meeting that has now been implemented, there have been no changes to the budget since the last time we met.
Thank you, Ms. Alcanada. Can you verify that the budget was posted 48 hours before?
It has been posted 48 hours before.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wells, for reminding me. So I will now accept a motion to
I'll make a
open-
motion, we open public hearing on the 2022 budget.
Second. Okay, so we should now open that public hearing. Anybody in the audience that wishes to testify to the school committee on the public hearing, please approach the seat over here.
It is a lawyer in here.
Yeah.
It's a hearing.
Gotta have a better egress. Better like shimmy by the desk.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Robert McCarthy. I reside at 39 Pine Ridge Road in Reading, Massachusetts. And many of you know me. I'm one of the school and family liaisons here at the Woburn Public Schools. I'm completing my third year in this position. And when I was hired 2 years ago, it's significant to note that I was hired as a school and family liaison. Here was my original ID. I was notified that my position has been cut due to reallocation, reorganization of resources. When I was hired 3 years ago, it was to help alleviate the vast job that Mike Pandolf had. And I can tell you that between the two of us, to date this year, and it's like this every year, we have done 600 calls. I had a call this morning. I encountered a fourth grader home by herself with no parents. I called the school, and we got the issue resolved. You never know what you're going to get day to day, hour to hour. When I came to a meeting here Monday with Assistant Superintendent Mr. Michael Baldessari, and he told me that the job has been cut, and he said that we want to hire a school and family liaison. Now, so the net result of this is that they're cutting me. I am a school and family liaison. They changed the label. The description stayed the same last year. And they're going to hire someone else. It's an understatement to say that I was totally bewildered. I'm still to this day perplexed about the rationale behind this and everything else. There's a misconception that I know this is being driven by a certain constituent within the school system. It's important that I clarify what we do. People just think we go out and knock on doors. we're counseling people all the time. I have a psychology and counseling degree. I have a law degree. I have a administration degree. I have 40 years as a school administrator, school teacher and school administrator. We're working with families all the time, trying to peel the back of the onion to find out exactly what's going on, try to get to the root causes of things. We are a true school and family liaison. We're trying to get the resources that they need. And I came here tonight, I was going to submit a testimony, but I wanted to come here tonight because I'm in utter shock about what has happened here. I work hard. Everyone I talked to today, the disheartening thing is that, for me, is that seems like everyone else knew about me being cut except me. And that was very disheartening to me. This year, we did a whole host of CRAs. That was a big push. I've done a great job with the juvenile court in Lowell, getting great dispositions and getting services for children and families. I want to say that the vast majority of our work is done at the elementaries and the middle schools. So I wanted to say that the job's too big for one person, and I just want to come and just say I'm still looking for answers. I don't understand. I asked 5 times in that meeting on Monday, does this have anything to do with me? And they said, absolutely not. They said, you do a wonderful job here. I've gone to other cities and towns to do residency checks on my own time. So I've been committed. I've been a loyal employee here. I'm rather upset because I'm just total perplexed, and I just wanted to come here and share my thoughts about what has happened here. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Appreciate your feedback. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come before the school committee? This chair recognizes Mr. Michael Concanon, Alderman at Large, Counselor at Large, excuse me, for the City of Woburn. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee, the administration. I just wanted to come down tonight and briefly express my support for your proposed budget. I have gone through it. Thank you, Bob, for including me in all the documents. I understand these are trying times, extremely uncertain finances at every level of government. But I think what you've done is prepared a document that will meet the goals of this district, advancing, maintaining, and understanding the realities of the times. So I appreciate all the effort you put into it, and I think the district is in a good position with this proposed budget. I know there's a couple of things you would have wanted to keep in originally, and they would have been terrific additions to the programs, but perhaps we can do that next year when finances are a little more stable. But I just wanted to come down and thank you for all your efforts, not only with this budget, but everything you've done this year and the past year, and to tell you that I look forward to supporting your proposed budget at the council. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you, Counselor.
Get 5 other votes, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. We didn't close the public hearing yet, Mr. Lipset. Is there anybody else that would like to come before the school committee and testify as to the budget?
Madam Chairman, I think we got one communication regarding the budget.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that it be entered into the permanent record regarding the budget.
So I have a motion to enter the correspondence, and I'll just name it. It was written by Emery Popolowski, along with 29 other parents, and the summary of the letter is to ask the school committee to reconsider adding back in the assistant principal at the Malcolm White School, citing data from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education noting that the Malcolm White is a Title I school that has been categorized as, quote, focused and targeted support. And this was signed by, again, Ms. Popolowski, along with 29 other parents. Would the committee like me to read the names of the parents or just enter it in public record? Okay. So any discussion on that motion?
On the motion, Madam
Yes.
Chair, would it be possible to read the letter into the record in full? I mean, I felt it was a very well-worded, really powerful letter. And it might be, as we're in a public hearing, it might be worth the committee's time to hear it just out loud in full.
Okay. Dear school committee members, we are writing to you today as concerned parents of children who attend the Malcolm White Elementary School in Woburn, Mass. We have learned that a last-minute directive from Mayor Scott Galvin's office has resulted in the possibility of the proposed assistant principal position at the Malcolm White School being removed from the upcoming 2021-22 school budget. This position has been proposed and subsequently removed from the budget numerous times over the past few years. It is a long-term, unfulfilled, recognized need to assist the school in the student population, a need that cannot be ignored any longer. The Malcolm White School Report Card on the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education shows a Title I school which is in still need of, quote, focused, targeted support, requiring assistance or intervention. It is one of the larger elementary schools within the city of Woburn and without an assistant principal. The school consistently, pre-pandemic, had, quote, lower growth scores when compared with not only other schools within the district, but also within the state, in both English language arts and mathematics. We may not have yet the data showing the impact of the past pandemic school year, but it can be assumed to not have improved any of the scores for the school. We are urging the school committee to please reconsider this cut and choose to instead hire a desperately needed assistant principal for the Malcolm White Elementary School. This is not only supported by the data collected by M.A. Desi, but also in the own lived experiences of parents of children who attend the school. By denying the school an assistant principal, it will be denying the current and future students the same equal opportunity to the level of education currently offered to the rest of their peers in the other schools within the city of Woburn. Thank you for your time and consideration of this matter. Emery and Charles Popolowski, Amy and Mark Panicella, Jane and Claudio De Campos, Seema and Roger White, Pamela and James Vaughn, Lindsay and Dennis Marr, Aretti and Ted Papadopoulos, Papadopoulos, Renee and Nathan Prestia, Aaron and Billy Tancredi, Kate and Bob Campbell, Heather and Kevin Grossglass, Deanna and Dana D'Agostino, Jennifer Baker-Jones, Alec and Kevin Keeling, Elise and John Myers. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
That letter shall be entered into the public record.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. I'm calling to order the Woburn School Committee meeting, special meeting for May 5th, 2021. Could the superintendent please call the roll?
Ms. Chisholm.
Still here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Mr. Lipset.
Here.
Mr. Kissel.
Here.
Mr. Morenin.
Present.
Dr. Wells.
Here.
Ms. Crowley.
Here. So this is a meeting with one single agenda item, which is to, no, I believe there's two, to vote on the budget for the fiscal year 2022. Do I have any action?
Motion to approve the budget as written? On the motion.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
A motion to approve the budget as written. Okay, and I have a second. So, yes,
On the motion.
Mrs. Chisholm.
I would just like to see if we could amend this to add back in the position of the resource, well, the absentee person, liaison, or whatever we have, Bob McCarthy, that was before us tonight. I remember when they came before us last fall, and they were actually asking for additional help, and the workload that they had was, a great need to the entire school district. And if the kids all need to be safe, we need to make sure that if someone's in court, we have backup here in the city, and that's what we proposed when we added the second person on, so that someone would always be within the city. So if we have an issue with kids, we have someone there. It's very little money, like $11,000 in order to keep this position there. And I just think that with adding almost 20-something positions in the budget this year, I don't think it's fair to have somebody, especially the fact that he didn't even know about it, which was upsetting to me as well. But I just think that would be, it's not going to break the bank, and I think that we can keep all of our kids safe, and I think that the principals of the elementary, relying on them a lot. So I just think that this would be something we need to do.
On the motion?
Okay, so I just want to keep track. I have a motion from Ms. Cormier. I believe what Ms. Chisholm is doing is amending
Yeah.
Ms. Cormier's motion. And now we're discussing approving the budget with an amendment to add back in that monies. Okay, so Ms. Cormier.
What would the percentage be, the outcome be if we were to add that? I don't know if you have that easily.
Putting that back in would, and you have to remember, the proposed reduction was $11,044 in salary, $1,000 travel and phone stipend, and then once that position comes in, we'd have to shift the Title IV $7,500 to that salary. So we'd be putting in about $19,544. And that, a quick calculation would get us to 3.5%.
Yeah.
Be right at 3.5%.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lipset.
Just a quick question to administration. In our last meeting, we talked about the use of a part-time family liaison position or assistance in that office to help sort of cover the job that was being.
I can speak to this in detail for a time.
Sure.
So, first thing is that the position, the name on the card may say family liaison because that's what's forward facing when Mr. McCarthy or Mr. Pandolf goes to a home. The actual job description and title is supervisor of attendance.
Right.
And as you know, there were a few years ago there was a presentation about adding the position and what that meant for our city and for our kids and for their safety. And at that time, it was very true, and certainly still is true today that we need a supervisor of attendance. Keep in mind that from that time until now, the school committee has added a curriculum coordinator for social emotional wellness. The school committee added me. The school committee added adjustment counselors to all the schools. You added an EL coordinator. You added a full-time family and community engagement liaison. We've made investments this year into language lines so that we can communicate better with our families. We've trained our clinicians in Match ADTC, and we're training all of our staff in TCIS, and we also have wraparound services from the Home for Little Wanderers and from the William James Interfaith Service. So when we discussed this year in our budget planning, the hopes that we have as an administration, you only see a microcosm of what we're hoping to do. And we're essentially changing the investment to a whole family support network, as you can see. And what that means sometimes is that you take some funding from one place and you put it into another. And if you think about adding just that half-time person this year, right, I don't come in and say, okay, everybody, I need $1.1 million because I want to build a family support network. It happens incrementally over time with thought, with planning, with development, with training. Dr. Crowley and I hope that at some point, by these investments year over year and doing things well, that we're going to have a full parent information center and kind of a methodology for the way we deal with families. So, when we were in our budget planning, if I were given the opportunity to say, Mike, you can have $11,000 to have 2 supervisors of attendance, or have this half-time family engagement liaison to assist Adriana, my choice is to have that person to assist Adriana, right? And then, I'm sorry, Mr. Wells, do you want me to stop talking?
No, I just wanted to get Ellen's attention.
Okay. Dr. Wells.
I'm sorry.
It's
You can
okay.
get it to be quiet, you're good.
I don't want to. You're like, just
No,
tell
you
this
were
guy
on
to
a-
shut
you were
up.
on a roll.
I've had enough of you. No, and honestly, and Mr. McCarthy, I did meet with him, with Mrs. Carpenter, and he's done a great job, and he's visited a lot of houses, and he has pounded the pavement, and and no discredit to the work that he's done. But if I had $11,000 more dollars, I would increase the time of the family engagement liaison, a multilingual family engagement liaison. And it's the same type of work, but it's done in different ways. And that's why we did this. It wasn't done like we have to cut $11,000. It was a reallocation into doing our work differently. And I hope that over the last couple of years, you've seen the effects and the impact of that work. Unfortunately, and as I've said to Colleen many times, sometimes the good stuff that we're doing is not because of what you see, it's because of what you don't see. Be it a suicide attempt, or an ambulance in front of a school, or a violent attack of one student against another, or a family who feels embraced by the school as opposed to one who feels rejected or subjugated by it. And so that's why we did this. And so if it were my decision, and you said, Mike, I'm going to give you $11,000 more dollars, I would put it into the arena of Adriana's department.
Okay. But my feeling is I think we need to keep all moving kids safe.
Yeah.
And I know that she works with people like, have language barriers and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is also, they're in court. So if we have someone in court and there's nobody here,
Yeah.
I just think for $11,000, we need to keep this position. That's my amendment.
I just wanted you to know the
Yeah.
perspective of it, and that it wasn't something that we just said, there was a lot of thought, discussion, and planning behind the adjustment.
But I mean, and I also feel bad that he wasn't communicated with
Yeah.
prior to this, but that's my amendment.
Thank you, Mrs. Chisholm. On Mrs. Chisholm's amendment to the motion, Mr. Kissel?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, could I just follow up on my
Oh,
question?
yeah, of course, Mr.
Sorry, I
Wurzer.
apologize. Thank
No,
you.
absolutely. It's
So just to fully understand, if this money were to be added back into the budget, your choice in terms of allocating that money would likely go towards
Increased hours
towards
for the
Superintendent Sheldon's
assistants
office. Okay, so personnel changes aside, that's where this money would go. Okay,
If certainly it's the committee,
right.
if the committee votes to put the money into that line, then certainly I turn to the superintendent for his guidance.
Okay. I mean, I'm inclined to trust administration. I mean, this is the direction there's a direction that fits with where our district has been going. It's a direction that fits with our strategic plan, and I think it makes sense as you described it. And I'm sorry that that's the direction that it had to go in this way, but it sounds like the right move to me. So thank you.
Mr. Kissel.
Actually, you were next, right? My quick question is, you mentioned, and this isn't against you, just in general, if we had that money to put back in, I think technically we do, because we were asked to get to 3.5. So adding that back in, did you, again, not directed at you, had that request been made to get it to 3.5 and add the 11,000 back in, or everyone in the administration was happy with 3.47?
I don't want to speak on behalf of Bob or the superintendent, but I think in good faith to do with what was requested of us,
Yeah.
and it went slightly beyond what it turned to the superintendent.
So I mean, we're not going up to 3.55 and then throwing in the mayor and say, we're a little over, but, we're at what he wants, and I agree, and with Pat, and I just think, I think the direction is going. We're actually putting quite a bit into that at the high school, and I think it's a great thing. It's better to fix it now than not to go against the terms he was using, knock on the doors later and try to fix it then. So I agree with that, but I also think, the way we have it set up now with the two officers, if that's the term, or the liaisons, again, back to
because you might not know this, but Adriana goes to their doors, our adjustment counselors go to their doors, our assistant principals go to their doors, sometimes our principals go to their doors. And, it's not, these things aren't mutually exclusive.
No, and I get that. Adriana and I have talked many times, and she has told me that she does do that. My feeling would be we have a couple of people that's technically their job. I don't necessarily want to have the principal out there too often because she has stuff to do. So I guess my point is I'm in favor of, but I don't know if we're there yet.
Okay. Dr. Wells.
Yeah, I understand your rationale, but it would have been easier to sell if that had appeared earlier in the budget. because it looks like it developed when we had to make the cuts. So I'm looking at if we restore the money, you've gotten what you wanted, and we're just sort of at status quo. You know. And, you know, I understand everybody should be looking to reorganize, to do things like that. But I think, you know, coming at the last minute, you know, putting somebody's job at risk, you know, is one of these things that we try to avoid as much as possible. I know the administration does that as well. And so just from a perspective of committee member, you know, it looks like we were trying to do it to save money because we were trying to meet the mayor's budget numbers. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Wells. Any more discussion on, yes, Mr.
Just,
Lipson.
I just feel like a quick clarifying question regarding Ms. Chisholm's amendment. Should this money go back into the budget, would it be specifically for the position? I mean,
Yes.
are we amending it specifically for that position, or allowing administration to add it to the budget?
Adding
of
the
the
position
family?
back in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Mulrennan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess to Dr. B regarding this, and I'm very supportive of both Adriana, everyone that's knocking on doors to get our kids where they belong and get the family services that we need. But I think we have a little bit of a bump in here already to support Adriana. And to Ms. Chisholm's point, this is more or less just restoring Mr. McCarthy's position to keep him working with Mike and working with Adriana, working with our other counselors, working with our therapists, working with everybody as part of the team that he's been doing so well. And it did come up last week when it was brought to our attention that we had to get down, we had to make some cuts. And, you know, the numbers game, all the Councilor Concan's back there, he understands the numbers as well. I think if we could make this work and get these people back together, and as you're stating, might even reallocate a basis of a family support department here in Woburn, because we need all the support we can get. And going back to the letter we got regarding the assistant principals, obviously there's a need there, but that's a larger hunk of money, big chunk of money. And the way you explained it at the last meeting was kind of along the same lines of, we're not going to be able to do that because we had to reach a bottom line figure, which is an awful way to do it. But you're going to use the other monies that we do have to, again, support families in a similar way that an assistant principal will be doing in their building, but yet out and about, I guess, to the families that are in need, or the community at large. So I think, you know, the 3.47 to 3.5, as Mr. Uppner indicated, and as we started with the mayor originally, was 3.5. And I know some of us have been here a long time. We keep hearing, I need more, I need more, I need more, which is what we heard way back when. Some of us were here when there was one supervisor of attendance, whatever you wanted to call their position at the time, and we built that to a stronger program through Mr. Pandolf, and now we have Mr. Pandolf some support. We were lacking in the field when we were finding out that our administrators were spending the whole day up in the court system and nothing was getting resolved. They had to get redates, and they're leaving their buildings, you know, away from our city. So we wanted to make sure that that wasn't happening. And it sounds to me that, you know, both Bob and Mike are filling in those gaps. And to sit here after COVID, figuring out, are these kids going to come back to school? Are these families getting all the support they need? So it's not fair to take away something, but I think if we reinstate at least this 11-something that Bob indicated, to get your base, Mike, for as you indicated, a family, what do you want to call it? Family engagement group. And you can name off 2 handfuls of people that are already doing that in a different fashion, in a different way, that we could get pages and pages and pages of documentation they're doing. But they're doing it, you know, behind the scenes, and it's getting accomplished. I would just hate to see something like this down the road in the future, finding out that, you know, oh, Mike's overwhelmed, Mike's overburdened, and we need more help for Mike. And here we are thinking, well, we had the opportunity in, you know, May of 2021, and we kind of slipped it through the cracks. But I think if the support is here to get that back in, and again, you know, it just goes to 3.5. We're not shooting for the moon here. And I think with this understanding and this explanation to the mayor and the council, at least one council is here tonight,
And I think Mike understands the background of what we're talking about here, so, it wouldn't do a big, dog and pony show down at the council to understand the 3.5 figure, so. I'm in support of Ms. Chisholm's, proposal, and hopefully Dr. B and the administration can work within what they're gonna get to make it a stronger environment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Ms. Mulrennan. Any further discussion on Ms. Chisholm's amendment to Ms. Cormier? Yes, of course.
Just a point of clarity, because Ms. Mendez-Sheldon was hired prior to my entering this position. Ms. Chisholm, you mentioned basically language barriers. That's what but she helps all.
Yeah.
I mean, she's engaging with families, not just the families
That's correct.
that don't speak English, but it's all of our families.
We're creating as you'll see this Friday, we're working on a strategic plan for total family engagement, all 4,500 kids and all of their parents and all of their, caregivers.
So, what is the overlap with Ms. Mendez-Sheldon's position and the supervisor of attendance?
So as you know, Adriana spends a lot of time out in the community, interfacing with parents on a multitude of issues. And some of them this year, because of the lack of some of the engagement, has been because of lack of attendance. A lot of it was in the virtual academy, kids who weren't showing up or weren't showing up online, and that was happening. And she was doing that along with Kevin Battle and many others. We have actually used Adriana's position to interface on attendance at times, and we feel that her support personnel could also be a person who does that as well. Sometimes it's kind of like the ethos of how you have these conversations. You need to come to school, because if you don't come to school, you're going to go to court, and you are going to be held accountable for not sending your child to school, which is true, because we can file a 51A and have DCF do that work too. The difference in this is that your child isn't coming to school, and we have these resources that we want to bring to your attention. We want to understand why your child's not coming to school. We want to get you into the services that you need, be they financial, be they social, emotional, connected with the right social agencies. It's the same type of work. It's just a different type of approach.
Okay. And as Dr. Baldessari mentioned, yes, he's mentioned to me many times that we don't have data on the good things that have happened because there's no baseline for how many of the bad things. So it's hard to really put a number on the good that's been done besides tracking how many times she's knocked on a door, unfortunately. But luckily, the numbers that we do have are small enough that we see that there is some benefit. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so we have a motion to add back in, and I believe the number is, can you just repeat the?
Absolutely. So if the position's coming back in,
Yep.
It's not only the salary, but it is the travel stipend, and then with that position, we have to shift $7,500 from Title IV to that position. So the total add-in would be $19,544 back in, giving a new bottom line of $70,626,441. And when I do that percentage, I'm carrying it to two decimal places. It comes out to 3.4997. If I carry it to two decimal places, it will be 3.50%.
Got to be like those car salesmen, 4.997.
Okay, so this is.
So, can I have a clarification?
Yes.
You said we have to take money out of the Title IV, but what will that money be spent on, I guess? Because Title IV probably has an amount of money that can be spent.
We're projecting for Title IV to have $15,000 to put toward the attendance officers' salaries.
Mm-hmm.
So when the budget reduction was implemented, it freed up $7,500 from one attendance officer to put more on the first one.
Okay.
Now that comes back in, we have to shift the $7,500 to attendance officer 2, which increases the salary of.
Okay. But it washes the Title Title IV is a wash, sort of, in
Yeah,
the sense that...
Title IV won't be,
Right.
the $15,000 is going to be spent from
Yeah,
Title IV.
okay.
It's just a matter if it's on one or two.
Okay, thank you.
And the bearing is that when you put the salary back in, you have to put that $7,500 on the second salary. So that's why it's $19,544 increase to the bottom line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I have Ms. Cormier's motion, but I have an amendment made by Ms. Chisholm. Could you repeat your motion and add in the number?
I'll make a motion that we add in the total of $19,544 for the supervisor attendance position to be added back in. That still gets us to 3.4997.
Okay. And that doesn't need to be seconded? Okay. Any?
Probably should.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so I have a second on that amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's do a roll call vote,
Yeah.
please.
Ms. Chisholm?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. Lipset?
No.
Mr. Kissel?
Yes.
Mr. Morenin?
Yes.
Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes, that motion passes 6-1.
Make a motion to forward the budget with the new figure from Mr. Alcanada to the mayor's office. Madam Chair.
On the motion,
Yes.
I'd like to propose that we add back in the assistant principal for the Malcolm White. We received what I thought was a very powerfully worded letter from, was it nearly 30 Malcolm White parents, talking about the need for additional help at the Malcolm White. This is one of our most underprivileged schools. It's a school that is one of our largest in terms of total enrollment. It's a school that has a fairly large English language learner population, and it is, unless I'm wrong, the largest school in our district without an assistant principal at the current time. Is that correct? In terms of total students?
It's close between the Goodyear and the Malcolm White.
And as we are adding an assistant principal.
And this year's numbers aren't totally reflective because we have students in virtual academy, you know.
We've been talking about ways that we can best support all of our students, and this is a school that needs the help, and this is a budget request that's been in the budget for many cycles at this point. And I think when we talk about equity, this is what we're talking about. And I know that it would push our budget over what we've been asked to provide. But I think it's important if especially if we're talking about adding back additional positions, that we talk about adding back this one. This was the biggest piece of the pie that got cut from the budget proposal, and in some ways, the one that I think hurt the most. So I'd like to make that proposal.
Okay. Do you want to just restate your motion just more concisely?
Sure. As concisely as possible, I move that we add back in the position of assistant principal at the Malcolm White. I don't know if administration wants to provide a number.
Well, let's wait till
on
it's
that.
seconded.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, and
On the motion.
any discussion on the motion, Dr. Wells?
Yeah, so I haven't been here for a while. I appreciate the motion and the thought behind it. I think it's one of these things where we're going to have to schedule it in the future, because I know what will happen. It'll go down to City Hall, and we'll get a flat rate of 3.5 if we're lucky, and then it'll come back, and we'll have to make up that money on a short notice. So if we're going to make this motion, I think we really have to come up with the side that takes where that money comes from, because the mayor sets the bottom line. That's just the way it is. And if he submits it, we're going to have to come back here and figure out where we want to cut it to make the 3.5. So if we want to go forward with this motion, I think it's imperative that we tell where the money's coming from. Otherwise, I think, the administration has done a good job of laying out step-by-step, adding positions as years go on and getting them incorporated into the budget. And, it's only been relatively recent years that we've had assistant principals. I think it started with the Reeves and then with the Harold Wyman, and we've sort of moved things forward. And I think we're trying the best we can, and I just think to just add the position without resulting release of money from somewhere else is just, banging our heads against the wall.
Dr. Wells? Mrs. Chisholm?
just to see if I can wrap my head around this, but are we adding positions at that school to help out with the principal? Is that,
Yeah,
do I remember that?
actually,
Yeah.
we are. It is a Title I school, as was alluded to in the letter. There's a Title I teacher there, and the intent is to add a special ed teacher and an EL teacher to help out with the high needs population. And in conversation with Mr. Nickerson, certainly, we want it all, right? Like, I mean, so.
Come on, Bob, just take a break, just keep adding numbers, Bob.
It's not a, so, but, the thinking is that hopefully we can sit here next year and say, we told you we needed this position and here it is. I'm not saying we don't need it, I'm just, suggesting that we're adding 2 FTEs into the Malcolm White to help alleviate, and it is a very challenging, very diverse, socioeconomically diverse school, and but that to answer your question.
So there's some help. It's not what everybody would like to see there, but it's something that it's not been totally eliminated in status quo. for
Correct.
next year.
Yeah, it's not rolling
Right.
forward next year the same, in the
Same.
same capacity. Right.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mulrennan.
Thank you, ma'am. If I may, under the category of communications, again, if the administration through Mr. Nickerson can communicate just what you stated, Dr. Crowley, as to the rationale and the thinking, and, it's not off the table, but the assistant was eliminated, as Dr. Wells indicated, basically a money thing, but through the administration brainstorming, we're trying to get you support. It's not a assistant principal sitting here, but it's other support personnel to, again, meet some of the needs as indicated by the parents' letter. So if that could get information disseminated to the parents and concerns of that building, it's not going to make the issues, the concerns of these folks that have been on their minds for years. And, it's one or the other. And as Dr. Wells said, sat here one time, we need an assistant principal here. There you go, you got one. We need one here. Oh, you got one over there too. You got one over there. For a while, it was based, on numbers, and then we had to figure out needs. And we're combining 2 buildings. Why can't we have 2 principals? So, it's an unfortunate situation. And as they say, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is not going to cut mustard this time. But I think through the administration, there's some of the needs and supports will be met through, the different departments and issues. So that's just my take on the whole situation. I'd love to see it too. It'd be a great idea, but not this time. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Mulrennan. Any further comments on Mr. Lipsett's motion?
Madam Chair, if I could.
Yes, of course, Mr. Lipsett and then Ms. Cormier.
And I appreciate everything that has been said here. This would put us above the budget figure we've been asked for, as Dr. Wells pointed out, that could come back to us in ways that would be difficult to manage. But at the same time, I look at the total figure here, and that the total budget figure is something around 90,000, if I remember correctly.
The proposed assistant principal was $90,000.
And I appreciate Councilor Kincannon coming before us and letting us know that he's reviewed this proposal and he supports the proposal as written. And having the council support is incredibly important here. To me, the support for students that this position would represent is worth far, far more than that $90,000. And I appreciate that we have a responsibility to the taxpayers. I also appreciate that we have a responsibility to the students and the families of our schools. And this is one where I think could make an outsized difference based on the amount of money that's being spent. I certainly appreciate all of my colleagues' input on this, and I understand everyone's viewpoint. But this, to me, is a position that can really make a difference. And it's a position where we've said next time a couple of times in a row, and I'd like next time to be now. So, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lipsett. Ms. Cormier.
Thank you. Just sort of to draw attention to something that Dr. Crowley had mentioned, they are getting 2 full-time employees as support, as Mr. Mulrennan mentioned, at the Malcolm White, that basically, for our most vulnerable students, the EL population and the SPED population, specifically for those that what is what we're concerned about, I assume, at the Harold Wyman. I'm sorry, Malcolm White. I got my M's and W's.
We're also concerned about the Harold Wyman too.
We're concerned about all our children, yes. But in this instance. So I just, having, if there was a question of, where, I don't know where that $90,000 would come from, because as we've mentioned, the 3.5, but if it was a question of assistant principal versus adding those two positions, I still think, 2 full-time people, I think will do a lot of good versus, the assistant that I absolutely agree that it would be very handy to have for Mr. Nickerson and all of the population there, but I think the 2 that were added are going to be a good fit.
Okay.
Thank you.
What an outstanding debate. Any further thoughts before we call the vote? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
What are we?
I apologize.
On his
I was doing
Please
this
can you restate the motion?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we add back in the assistant principal position for the Malcolm White Elementary School.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Chisholm?
No.
Ms. Cormier?
No.
Mr. Lipset?
Yes.
Mr. Kissel?
Yes.
Mr. Mulrennan?
Opposed.
Dr. Wells?
No.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes. That motion fails, 3-4. Okay. Any more action on the budget?
Make a motion, we approve the final figure. Mr. Almanada can just give it to it once more time.
Yep, $70,626,441.
Is that the increase, Bob, again of 4,999,999?
3.4.
3.5%.
Okay. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Budget has passed.
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to thank the administration for the work they've done on it. Lots of times they have to work very hard because we don't have a lot of money. This year, we've had the opposite thing. We have a lot of short-term money, and making sure that's spent appropriately and making sure that we're doing things that are going to have long-term impacts is also a difficult task. And I think, the work, the presentations and so forth have shown they've done due diligence on that fact, with the more money for the short term, because we've seen what they can do with the short term, money and so forth. But it's been very educational seeing how they view the future and the things that they put in to really make a difference in the students' lives.
I think this was tremendous. I deeply appreciate Mr. Lip's motion because I love listening to the debate and all the different points of view. And I think the committee did just an outstanding job in this budget cycle. And Mr. Alcanado was just varsity captain.
It's that school he went to.
Yep.
I think the chairperson would agree with that.
Yes, from Merrimack, yes.
Thank
And
you
I
very
couldn't be
much
more
for your
proud
words.
of
Thank
this
you.
committee and with the work that we were able to accomplish. And Mr. Concan, we look forward to seeing you in the future. June 9th will be the school committee's presentation to the city council. And that will be defending our budget to the council. Sounds like we might have one supporter already.
Is
So
that at
this is just a
6:30?
tremendous accomplishment.
Six.
And I can't thank the mayor enough for his support. And any further thoughts, Dr. Wells?
Yeah, I just had one question. The money in the grants and so forth, do we have to wait for approval of our budget to spend that? Or can we spend that now? Because the thing I'm thinking about is we have money we put in there to do an overview of our whole system and our buildings. And the sooner we get that started, the better that is. And so I'm wondering, can we obligate that, get that moving before the budget goes through its whole cycle?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
ESSER 2, we already have received notification of that, the ESSER 2 fund, so we can spend it at any time. I think it was as of March 29th we could have spent that. In terms of the American Rescue Plan, we are waiting for those monies to be distributed, and whenever they are, we can spend it. We're hearing that it's going to be in June.
Okay. So maybe when the money comes in, we can authorize that to be expended so that we can get that moving as fast as possible. I know Mr. Mulrennan talked about getting the results in early so we can look about building more schools.
Certainly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Thank you. So the administration will let the school committee know when they need our approval to spend that money. Anything else? So future agenda items. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mulroney.
Oh,
Go ahead.
It's kind of future agenda items and kind of what Dr. Baldessari and Colleen Comey alluded to a little bit tonight. SSA is meeting Friday morning. I don't know, Mike, if you want to just highlight some of the webinar stuff you're going to be talking about in this forum or save it for next week. It's kind of another proud moment for Woburn Schools, I believe. You can save it for Monday night or a little tidbit tonight. Webinar for Friday morning.
Yeah, we have 9 a.m. I believe 9 a.m. on Friday.
You want to talk a little
He
bit
wants
about
to hold the tension.
Oh, we're going no spoiler alert for that, what it's all
He
about.
wants to let me
I'm sorry, Mike.
report on it after the fact. He wants to give me the
I just wanted-
What's the
the
report
honor.
on it before you report on it?
Because Mike's already seen the.
Tell us how it's going to go.
Well, I know you were invited, I just want to say again that Woburn's been invited to something like this, out of all the selected towns in the
Oh,
area.
you mean the presentation
Yeah.
after the, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got me now?
No.
I know we're going to hear about it after the fact. but-
Let's hear about it next week.
Yeah.
Could,
I can tell you now, or I can tell you.
No, it's good.
Monday.
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 Monday's
Tell us how
good.
it
Highlights.
went.
If I
Highlight
may,
reel for Monday night.
Ms. Mulroney just wanted the public to know that
Yeah.
Woburn will be representing
Yes.
at some
I'm
some
sorry,
sort
when
of
I heard
webinar.
him, I was thinking of the SSA meeting.
Yes.
Not the presentation.
That's what we were all
State
thinking.
after.
But we're all excited for you to go to SSA as
Thank
well.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we know that there'll be detailed
all right.
Yes.
notes of it. Okay.
Could we have, for future graduation, what's the plan for this year? 'Cause
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
also have the athletic director, because I really want to find out about wrestling.
Yes. Today I said to Dr. Crowley, John Wells wants the athletic director.
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you knew.
So, yeah,
I'm sure they have an
I think
idea, but we
we'll
can.
have
Yeah.
a nice agenda for Monday
Yeah.
night.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we
Non-budget.
Really?
Yes. No more
Good.
money.
Okay, I'll make it an
All right.
early.
Like Tuesday, so that's good.
This meeting's adjourned. All in favor? Aye.
That's right, too. Where you going, Chris?
Puerto Rico.
Nice.